Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AL West Divisional Roundup. My name is Alanna Rizzo. I'll be your host, taking you throughout the AL West. We are joined now by some tremendous journalists and reporters covering their respective AL West teams. We're joined by Julia Morales of the Houston Astros, Jill Painter-Lopez, who covers both the Los Angeles Angels as well as the Los Angeles Dodgers for CBS and KCAL in LA. And then we have Jen Mueller from Root Sports Northwest covering the Seattle Mariners, and Emily Jones-McCoy doing a great job covering the Texas Rangers for over 2 decades. So we're going to go ahead and start from top to bottom in the AL West. And when you think AL West, you have to think the Houston Astros, always seemingly at the top. So Julia Morales, thanks for taking the time to be with me today. I'm just going to ask you, what are the season expectations? I think we all know the answer, but from your perspective, what are they?
Yeah, easy. Going back to back, right? For the first time, a repeat since 2002. And that's come up a lot in spring training interviews. So you know it's real. The motivation is there. Why do you think Dusty Baker wanted to come back? Because his Dustyism of if you win one, you got to win two. But yeah, getting to the World Series, just getting there 3 consecutive seasons would be quite the feat. And there's no reason, though, to think they can't go back and win it again. They're coming back with so much. They've got GM Dana Brown now at the helm, so we're going to see what other moves happen over the course of the season. Of course, they lost the Cy Young Award winner, definitely, but the starting pitching depth is still there, so they know that. They know what's coming as well. It's just a good group. It's a fun group. They're very loose, but extremely motivated to go get another one.
Jen Mueller, I'm going to go to you, and it's not often we can go to Seattle, at least recently, as a team that's really come from behind in a lot of ways. They have their second straight 90-win season. They want to make sure, though, that they prove that, beating that drought of 20 years was not a fluke. What are the expectations for 2023?
Well, to get back to the playoffs and, quite honestly, to beat the Astros, which is a really tough task. But you can tell the vibe around training camp has been very different for this group. They are much more motivated. They are much more confident, and they know where each other fits into the team and the camaraderie and all of the things. You can tell that late season push for the playoffs last year made a huge difference. And catching the Astros is going to be really tough in this division. But now that they've tasted the playoffs, they are ready for another playoff push and to try to give the Astros some trouble.
Yeah, I think the Astros are on the target of everybody in the West. And Jill, let me go to you now. As far as the Angels are concerned, they have 2 of the best players in the world, not just in the league. Of course, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani has made it clear he wants to win. We're not certain of his future after this season. What do the Angels need to do to get it done in 23?
Well, they have to win, and they have to win early because, as you mentioned, Shohei Ohtani, he is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. That is one of the biggest storylines in all of baseball. It's been almost a decade since they've made the postseason, and Mike Trout has said in spring training, hey, we need to win, and so much of that has to do with trying to keep Shohei Ohtani. He's been non-committal at best as far as his future. He says, I'm focused on the season right now, but I mean, he's just a unicorn in baseball. And with Mike Trout coming back, being healthy after that back injury, one of the biggest things I think that happened in baseball last year, they don't really talk about that much, 40 home runs for this guy in just 119 games. So those are 2 guys that are going to take them to the promised land, perhaps, if they can get there.
Yeah, and if they can stay healthy, in addition to Anthony Rendon being healthy, it could be a promising year for the Halos. Emily Jones-McCoy, this is a team that does not look anything like they did 2 years ago. The front office has gone after it, not only putting guys on the field, but even with their coaching staff, bringing in, of course, Bruce Bochy and Mike Maddox, among others. What is the outlook for this team in 2023?
I think when you look at what this team did in, the offseason of 2022 and now what they've done in 2023, the expectation is clearly to win and to win now. And I think, honestly, over the last 2 off seasons, perhaps the most important acquisition that this organization has made is that of Bruce Bochy. I can't think of a better fit for this group of players, this mix of veterans and young players, than a guy like Bruce Bochy, who has literally done everything in the game of baseball. And to pull him out of retirement, I think, was a huge coup for the Rangers. Clearly, the ownership group has said, look, we're going to open up our wallets. We're going to give you the tools. And now the expectation is to win, and it's to win quickly.
Yeah, Bruce Bochy has 3 World Series championships. He's not going to come out of retirement for a team that's not willing to win and win right now. Julia, we circle back to you and the Astros. I know you've spent time in Florida. What have been your first impressions of camp so far?
Yeah, like I said earlier, the team's really loose, but really focused. But there's just not a lot of competition. For those who are following very closely, there's obviously the center field role that we're kind of watching play out, putting some pressure on Chas McCormick, Jake Myers to perform early on in spring. Who's going to back up Martin Maldonado? Other than that, the roster's pretty much set and everyone's proven at this point. And then Jose Abreu, right? Everyone's kind of watching to see how this guy fits in. So that's been a fun storyline to watch. He's there early every day. He's staying late every day. Everybody loves him. He obviously can hit. Former MVP, joining what was already a very good team, a very good lineup, but knocked his first spring training homer out, so that's all exciting. And then it's also been fun watching Dana Brown. New GM, very unique situation to have a new general manager of a team that just won a world championship, but he's getting to know everyone. We're learning his philosophy, but also what he sees for this team in the future. So it's not all about 2023, it's about what's next. But they know what they're doing, so much experience in that, so they're ready.
Jen, let's circle back to the Seattle Mariners. If it's one thing about Jerry Dipoto, he loves making moves, and he's not afraid to do so. What has impressed you the most about this new core for 2023?
That it fits so well with the players that they have cultivated and developed over the last couple of years. You add Teoscar Hernandez to take the place of Mitch Haniger in right field. And by all accounts, that is a great signing with a lot of power and the experience, also the personality that you need to come into a group that really found its own identity by the end of last year. The platoon of A.J. Pollock and Jared Kelenic in left field certainly helps with some of those numbers. We have seen Jared Kelenic make changes to his swing. We've seen Julio Rodriguez and talk to him about adding to his mental skills game. In case you were wondering where his game could take the next level, that's where he anticipates it to be. And really, without changing the starting rotation or the key bullpen pieces, you expect to have Luis Castillo make an even bigger role now that he is here from day one, going to be the opening day starter. And that bullpen is more solidified than it was last year. So much like the Astros, the Mariners know what their core looks like. They've added a couple of key pieces, and it is a loose clubhouse that's ready to have a lot of fun.
Jill, when you think about the Angels, you think about Mike Trout, you think about Shohei Ohtani. You also have to think about Anthony Rendon, who signed that massive contract. But when you think of how you win, you have to pitch. So what have been your first impressions of what you've seen so far with their staff and their bullpen?
Well, certainly that they have options. I mean, this offseason, Perry Manassian went out and signed a lot of guys. And I think one of the big things for Phil Nevin is that he has options when he's writing that lineup every day. There's a lot of questions at a lot of different positions. I mean, you've got mainstays who have already been there, like the Jared Walsh, Taylor Ward, who had a breakout season last year, and Luis Rengifo. But now you add so much pop in the bats of Brandon Drury. He had 28 home runs last year. Hunter Renfroe, 29 home runs. That's kind of the pop we're talking about, in addition to Ohtani and Mike Trout and Rendon, if he can be healthy. And then I think the biggest acquisition could be left-handed pitcher Tyler Anderson. And this guy was an all-star on that Dodgers starting rotation. If you can be an all-star on a team with Clayton Kershaw and Julio Urias, it shows you the 15 wins and what he was doing for them. And the left-hander, they've got left-handers now, Carlos Estevez, who could end up being their closer. So a lot of options, a lot of competition, and a lot of flexibility for Phil Nevin this year.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that Shohei Ohtani is the only right-hander in what figures to be the Angels' starting rotation to start the season. And I do think the Dodgers are going to miss Tyler Anderson more than they let on. Emily, when you look at the staff so far of the Rangers, you look at what they've done the past 2 off seasons, what have you noticed from camp so far in surprise?
In my 2 decades of covering this team, you've just never had this depth at pitching. You're talking about this staff's ace last year, Martin Perez, who was an all-star, possibly being the 4th or 5th guy in the starting rotation. And you bring in guys like Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi and Andrew Keeney, and these are established guys. Add them with a Perez and a John Gray, and you're looking at a legitimate rotation, which this team has not had, I don't know, ever. I think that's just the most exciting thing for this team, is the fact that they actually have a chance to win every day if one of those 5 guys is rolling out there.
Yeah, no question about it. And they're led by Chris Young, of course, CY, a great pitcher in his own right. Ladies, we appreciate you taking the time for this AL West divisional roundup. Julia Morales of the Houston Astros, Jen Mueller of the Seattle Mariners, Jill Painter-Lopez for the Anaheim Angels, or the Los Angeles Angels in Anaheim. As a Dodger fan, I'm never going to get that right. And Emily Jones-McCoy of the Texas Rangers. We appreciate your time, girls. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alanna.